fact that you abolished the diaper tax.
The thing is, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. Every single one is different right now.
When you're the dean of the School of Communications at Quinnipiac University
because it's allowed me to understand education.
I started traveling the country, just training people to understand these disabilities.
That was one of the reasons why I brought you on to discuss that.
Monday night, 8 p.m. EST.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this year, January 2024, as Pamela Roth Live starts out with a new season of fascinating and amazing guests on my podcast. So tonight is episode 18 for January 2024. It's Monday night, January 29th, and thank you for everybody who's tuning in. I want to thank all my current subscribers, all my new subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed yet after tonight's podcast, please go and subscribe because otherwise you're going to be missing out on fascinating and newsworthy people and items for the rest of the year. So tonight, I want to introduce everybody to this fascinating, fun woman who I've gotten to meet. She is a comedian as well as an artist. She's actually a master artist. Her name is Anjl Rodee. So everybody, please welcome Anjl. Is it Anjl or Anjl?
It is Anjl. It is
Anjl.
Anjl. Yeah, let's talk about that spelling for just a moment, shall we? When I was 14, the omniscient age of 14, I didn't think that the Halo Wings version was memorable enough for the corner of a painting, so I went phonetic, and I'm well aware that it just looks like I can't spell, not enough vowels in it. Everyone asks how to pronounce it. It was a great idea at the time, and now I'm when I turned 30, I tried to go back to the Halo Wings version, and everybody was like, no, this is just you now. So as a business owner, I'm highly Googleable. I guess that's a good thing.
Now, you know what I love about it? It's very unique, just the way you are.
It does match me in uniqueness.
So I was reading all about you, and what jumped out at me about you is the fact that you are a comedian as well as an artist. And as you know, that I also have at least two hats, which is the lawyer and the comedian. So, by day, I'm a lawyer, and then at night, I jumped into a nearest telephone booth, which we don't have anymore. And I would turn around and I would jump out going, hi, I'm the comedian. And, so I miss those phone booths because I was able to change my persona many, many times, and we don't have those anymore.
I know, we do not. I know they're making it so hard for us people that like to travel incognito. I wonder if that was the thought.
So, as you know, there's always been that joke, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So what came first with you, Anjl? Was it the comedian or the artist?
I am going to say that it was the artist. They feel inextricable now to me, but I am going to say it was the artist because I was a very shy child. I might have been funny. I don't know. I was so quiet. I have no idea if I was funny when I was very young, but I was the kid in the second grade that helped the class teacher decorate the bulletin boards and stuff. That was always me. So I'm going to say that the artist came first. Yeah, that's my thought.
It's funny, I'm the only girl, middle child, which I guess that's going to be a whole nother podcast about middle child still, the only girl, two brothers. And, it's funny because like the older child is always like, oh my God, he or she is the first, it's kind of like they could walk on water. And then if you have the youngest child, don't harass him or her, don't bother them because that's the baby of the family. And we're left in the middle. Kind of like to fend for ourselves. So it's kind of like, oh, you're hungry, just go outside, go eat dirt, go like capture a squirrel, go do something. I'm busy, And of course, you're the built-in babysitter for the younger sibling. And so I too, when I was much younger, because I didn't have a little sister to play with, I found myself getting lost in my own creativity. Also with art and drawing from the time that I'm younger. And I always enjoyed creating things. I know I had shown you something off screen earlier that I created. And so I've always loved dabbling in art. And it was anything from the doodles that it all started out with. The doodles, the little cartoons. I used to love to copy from the Sunday Funnies.
Yes.
And so I've always managed to somehow or another incorporate some type of art into
Yes,
my life. And of course, once we became comedians, that's another form of artistic expression.
it is.
Whether or
It's
not
creating
anybody
something that
actually,
wasn't there before.
right. And, whether or not anybody listens to us, that's, that goes back to like another story.
Whether they think we're funny, we know we're funny.
We're funny. I look in the mirror and I make myself laugh.
I am my best audience, right behind my mom. Yes, what you had shared was that your mom could take you anywhere and sit you down with a little pad of paper and you'd be happy. She could shop for a long time. For me,
Exactly.
it was my dad and fishing. I got to be my dad's fishing buddy because same thing. I'd sit at the end of the boat with if I got tired of worming the hooks, I could sit at the end of the boat with paper and pen and be happy for hours, and he didn't have to listen to a kid whining about wanting to go home too early. So I got to go on a lot of excursions like that too because of my art. That was a very good early benefit. One thing I find about people's art stories is that they have a lot of art stories until they hit about the age of 6. We are all artists until we are 6, and singers and dancers. And at some point, we decide that we're just bad at it, or that yeah, just that we're bad at it, and so we don't do it anymore or don't do it in front of people. So that's kind of been my mission in life, is to remind people that we are actually all artists, and it's something that at our core we need to be doing. Yeah, that's what I do.
I think it's very good for the hands-eye coordination. Um,
Yes.
it's excellent because I know, something, just on a separate note, and I know you do this with a lot of people. You've worked with individuals, you work with groups,
Hmm.
but also on another level, as far as for healing, I know, when my mom was going through her period with dementia,
Mm.
we would do crafts with her. And they say to do that with patients who have dementia, because
Yes.
get them to work with things. And that,
Yes.
again, the hand-eye coordination. And it's that those little successes that they have of actually doing something and creating it. And it just makes them feel better. And it's a sense of accomplishment.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's such a core part of what we are, the only living creature that makes stuff. Not because we need a nest or to impress a mate, but just to do it. It is so core to who we are. So it not only helps with that, with memory things, but helps with practicing self-kindness. We're so used to beating ourselves up on
Yes.
micro levels all day long. But if you can do this thing that's outside of yourself and say, ah, I nailed it. I nailed that thing. I did it. That's it. We could practice turning off that voice a little bit. That's another great benefit. And it's great for anxiety and sleeplessness. And just, there are just so many good reasons to just do the stuff.
Yeah.
We've
One of
only
the
been
big,
selling art to each other for 500 years. That's a blip in time, but it is the metric that we use to measure whether or not we should be doing it.
but it
Because,
makes us feel good. That's the best part of it.
yes, yes,
Shut off
yeah,
the damn phone and sit down. And you want to laugh is because when I was so bored at one point during COVID, I was going through cleaning out my son's closet and I came across so many of these unused coloring books. As
mm,
kids, they take a coloring book, they like put like 3 lines on it, and then they get bored, and then there's no more coloring book. It's like, so I really don't want to throw these out. I actually spent days, just
ah,
playing around with his coloring books. I pulled out everything. I pulled out my calligraphy pens and markers and, what do you call it? Colored pencils.
yeah,
And I've always been the type, and I know you are too. I've always colored outside the lines from the
yes,
time I'm younger because to me the lines just felt very restricting.
yes,
I don't like to
yes,
be restricted.
yes. They're a suggestion, really. There are no line police. They're going to come after you, but it is right. It is a law we give ourselves. I gotta stay inside there, or else this thing is worthless. And it's an interesting an interesting thing. Yeah. I had a girl in one class tell me that she had a bad experience with a teacher. I hear a lot of people who had bad experiences with our teachers when they were young, but this one girl in particular told me that her teacher was made fun of her effort because she colored the sky pink. I'm like, the sky is pink twice a day. Why did this teacher have a problem with a pink sky?
Oh my it's funny that you reminded me of that because when I was younger in school, and we had art class, which unfortunately schools don't even teach that anymore. But
Hmm.
we had art class and we were learning how to do needlepoint. Excuse me, we were doing needlepoint. So they give us like this little um mesh of the canvas
Yeah.
of a chicken. Okay. And you have all these different colors of yarn to make the chicken. I made my chicken pink and purple. And I just reversed all these different colors because on my head, I wanted a pink and purple chicken. Do you know I was admonished by the art teacher? First of all,
Yeah.
she called my parents to find out if I was colorblind. My mother's like, she's not colorblind. She's perfectly fine. Well, she made her chicken pink and purple. And my mom was like, and what's wrong with that? Maybe she wants a pink and purple chicken because I was the only one in class who made a pink and purple chicken. So there's something wrong with me. But that was my creativity. Like there
Yeah.
should be no rules with creativity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Because that literally the definition of creativity is to make something up.
But something like you said too, after age 6, it's almost like everyone's discouraged from doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
society
That,
rules. And going back in history, the first artist, if you look at the cave drawings,
that is something that I love to talk about. Cave drawings are tens of thousands of years old,
yeah,
and proof of agriculture is less than 5,000 years old. It has been more important for us as a creature to express ourselves than to eat on the regular. That says something right there.
it's
Yeah.
fascinating because every culture over the thousands of years since mankind has developed, there has always been some sort of expressions, like you said, even without a language.
Yes.
I may not understand your language, but if you start drawing stick figures, and I'm going to be able to understand what you're communicating to me
Yes.
on some primitive form.
Yes. Yes. By the way, we had talked earlier about maybe doing this entire podcast in charades, and we decided against it, but the idea gave us joy for about 2 minutes. I just want to share with your listeners.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties, and apparently I could be seen and not heard. So I was going back into my Charlie Chaplin theater barrel, very, very expression with the hands and the eyes. And we could have actually done it the entire time, but I don't
I
know
think
if
we
I
could
would
have.
have been able to keep a straight face. But it was very theatrical. I was being very
Oh,
creative, and
that
it
gave me
was
joy.
quite fun.
That was a good. That was good.
So now you started, I was reading about you. Tell us about in 2014, you started your own company called BrushCapades.
BrushCapades. I made that word up, much like my first name. So, yes, I that's 2014. I'm a freelance illustrator and doing things like that, and a comedian. And I heard of paint night, where you go sit in a bar and drink while somebody teaches you how to paint a thing.
Yes,
And I
like
thought,
they call sip and paint or paint.
yes, paint and
I
sip,
love
sip
those
and paint.
classes. Yeah,
Both apply. And I thought I am so uniquely qualified to do that, and it sounds like so much fun. So I called the big chain to let them know that how good I would be at it, and they said, "Awesome, you can do it on Tuesday nights at this bar." And I thought, I don't want to do it on Tuesday nights. I'm just going to start my own business. So I just bought a bunch of easels and practiced on. I invited 24 friends and coworkers over and practiced on them, and then started having never attended a paint and sip. It's still going pretty well, so it worked out. But yeah, that's how I started. And
and I've gone through a number of those sip and paint or paint and sip, and sometimes
yes,
I think the more wine I drank, the better my painting seemed to be, at least to
you
me.
know, I tell people it's so important for creativity because you feel more creative and I am funnier and we're all more attractive. So there are so many wins to the sip part.
Have you ever? I actually painted with wine.
What? Oh, I've
Yeah,
seen videos. I've never tried it.
it's fun, and it's not the same wine that I'm drinking, so it's not like I'm drinking and stick my paintbrush in there. No,
You know what is actually a thing though? Liquids are a brush magnet. I have stuck brushes in stemware before. I don't know what it is. You're painting and ding ding. Oh no. So whenever I'm working, I have to have things with a lid on it so that I don't stick a brush in there. That is absolutely truth. I have also picked up a cup of dirty paint water and got it fairly close to the face before I realized what I was doing. Both things are true. So liquids are, a risky part of the whole situation, but
Now, how did it go from starting out with the idea of BrushCapades to where you are today? It's 10 years. It's 10 years later after the development
10
of
years. That's my
BrushCapades.
10th year. Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
so, where has your journey taken you?
It's so fascinating, and the pandemic is such an important part of it. I was in Seattle. I was living in Seattle at the time, and had a gallery and would have people come in. It just kind of started growing by word of mouth. But downtown Seattle is home to Amazon and Microsoft, and a big Google office is there, and some other big core. So people would start to say to me, "Hey, do you do corporate events as well?" And I would respond in my improv fashion, "Yes, yes, I do." And so started doing work events as well during the day, and those really took off. And then the pandemic happened, shut things down for a little bit, and I thought, I got to get paint into the hands of the peoples so I can continue to do this. So the first thought I had, I don't know why, was to buy little mini Freezy Pop Ziploc bags and
Right.
squeeze paint into that and then try to see. It was so messy. And I made little kits at first before realizing, oh, you can actually buy an entire kit. Just ship it to people. I finally figured that out. But once I started going virtual, then I'm teaching people all over the planet. And the nice thing about big companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook is there are a lot of little teams inside that big company. And so word got around, and also the thing that I think that I do different from most paint and sips is I listened when a lot of people would come in, and a lot of people would come in saying, "Don't expect much out of me. My third grade teacher told me I will never be an artist. Don't expect much out of me. My sister got all the talent. I can only do stick figures." They were making excuses before they even walked in the door. And so I started kind of addressing that during the class. My mom was a therapist, and I'm sure that's why, I'm just used to living with somebody, "Oh, I'm scared for you, honey," that kind of thing. So I just my classes kind of became just as much of a TED talk on why creativity is important as it was, here's how you do a fun thing. And I think that is where I bring some value that other companies don't. And the other thing is I do stand, but I also do improv solo on the comedy totem pole, I'm aware. But I say yes to everything and then figure out
Oh,
how to
me
make it
too.
happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Remember, do you remember ever seeing the Broadway play of the musical Oklahoma?
yes, I was in it
I'm
as
just
a
the girl who
child.
can't say no, which has gotten me into a lot of trouble at times. They're like, "I said you can't say no." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm saying no, no, no to that, not that."
Oh man, me too. I said to my kids, I really hope I've had a lot of really amazing, fun things that I have gotten to do in my life. And I said to my kids, I want you to put this quote on my gravestone. That looked like fun. And my daughter's like, "No, because then it'll look like that's the thing that killed you." I'm like, "Oh, you're right." But it is the thing that has made me take on most opportunities in my life. I was like, "Oh, that sounds like fun. Oh, that looks like fun." That's been a really guiding sentence in my life, but she is right. Probably not the right thing to put on the tombstone.
Unless you have a good sense of humor, because I
Unless you have a good sense of humor.
I did a little bit of stand-up comedy at my mother's gravesite. Everybody thought I was out of my mind, but it was helping me cope. I laughed,
Yes.
then I cried because, I just happened to say, I go, "Mom, my mother always loved to sail." And so I actually stood there at the gravesite during the eulogy and I said, "Mom, you'd be so happy to know that till the very last minute, I got the coffin for you on sale." Everybody looked at me like she lost her mind. And I was like, "Mommy, I was only used once before. I got it half off." Everybody was like, "Maybe it was not the time to do comedy." I go, "Well, if she was alive, she would have laughed."
And it was for her, and it was for you, and that is awesome. And that is awesome.
You got to try to find a
Yeah.
little bit of humor just to help.
Comedy's never going to land all the time with all the people.
No.
So I really think a good guiding factor is if you find it funny and you're not disrespecting anybody except maybe yourself, then
go for it.
Go for it. Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit before we're just going to divert for a moment. Tell me about the improv and the comedy. How did that all come about?
Comedy happened kind of by accident. I am class clowny, shocker, I know. But so I've always enjoyed a good making people laugh. Making my kids laugh has been almost as important to me as feeding and clothing them growing up. But I'm going to say around the same time I moved to Seattle, have you ever heard of comedy sports? Comedy
No.
sports is like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Only with two teams and a referee. And I met a young guy who comedy sports started in Milwaukee and has spread to 29 major cities around the planet, really. It's in Manchester, England. There was one in Berlin, Germany, but most major cities in the US. And I happened to sit at a bar. I'm from Wisconsin, and I was in Seattle cheering on the Green Bay Packers, like you do, next to a kid who was there to start a comedy sports chapter in Seattle. And we became friends. And so I just kind of started with comedy officially that way. But I am also a musician and have played in bands most of my life and got involved after menopause with this group. Long story short, I started writing parodies. Hot Child in the City is now Hot Flash in the City.
Oh, I love it.
Don't Worry, Be Happy now just lists all 34 symptoms of menopause. And these songs have really quite taken off. So that's what I do mostly when I do stand up is deliver on ukulele my little menopause jokes and songs. So a lot of it is music related.
I like that. I wish I
Yeah.
have to go and look that up. Hot Flash in the City, because I'm listening to the song now in my head going, Flash in the City.
It just was meant to be, really.
You know, it's like you have sweats in the middle of the night and you think he's getting you really hot and you slide off the sheet. You're like, no, honey, it's just me sweating. Not you. I'll pat yourself on the back for that one. It's Nate. Oh, I definitely have to come to Wisconsin and hang out with you.
Please. I'll get us some gigs.
Please. I have shows coming up. That'd be great. I can have you come on one of my shows. We'll do a show out there.
I'll do an opener. I'm a great opener.
I'm a good closer. Plus, I'm good in the middle. I'm actually good beginning, middle, end.
So good.
I'm just the girl who can't say no, Anjl. You know, it's funny. You mentioned that us humans, as a human species, we're the only ones who create art. But it reminded me so much about the elephant that they show a number of times. They put the paintbrush in her tongue and she creates art. And in fact, I think I have one of her paintings in my house from the artist. I'm trying to remember if it was from the elephant or the artist with the elephant.
Okay.
But I just found that fascinating.
You know, I find it fascinating to do as well. And I don't know if all the science is in on what that is about. Because it's not just random marks. I've seen the videos, the elephants painting elephants. It's quite amazing.
It is.
But I don't know that the elephant would have picked up the Crayola on her own if she hadn't been taught by a human to do it. So is it just a rote activity? I don't know. But as far as the science stands today, we are the only creature that makes things out of nothing just to do it. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. And we've been doing it very well. And I like the fact that you tell everybody from all ages that you don't have to be a trained artist, because all of us inside, we have this capability and ability to create art, whether it's painting or, I mean, you think all the way back to pottery. I mean, that was all, it's everything with your hands.
Yes.
Creating pottery. That's something I wanted to do because I like challenging myself.
Mm.
And I enjoy art. I've been doing everything like I told you, from doing the little cat faces, which is an oval, and the triangle ears, just like incorporating all the shapes. And
Yes.
in fact, remember a long time ago, I really don't want to date myself because I tell everybody I sleep in formaldehyde. So back in the day, remember when there was the TV guide and there was the little drawing, like if you could draw this little black and white
Tippy the
beautiful,
turtle.
yeah, the turtle or the
Tippy the
frog,
turtle.
right?
Yeah, or
And
the
then you could
frog. I
go
think
sign
there
up
was
at
a
the
bear.
office. So I used to do that. And then over the years, it actually turned into sketching and drawing and just like abstract painting. But what my real talent has always been calligraphy. And so
Oh.
what I do, and to share this with you, is that I actually started doing hand calligraphy engraving on perfume bottles and on champagne and wine bottles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
so I'm a freelance artist. I've been doing that for the last year with this fabulous company. And so for Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and Christmas, the big holidays, whenever these the huge perfume companies have some sort of an event for like a new product, a new perfume for Mother's Day, I'm there, hired by this company for, let's just say, Dolce and Gabbana, because I actually
Yeah.
have a gig next week for Valentine's Day, and I'm with my tools, hand engraving,
Wow.
whether it's the name or Happy Valentine's Day or art
Yeah.
on the actual bottles, and then I use some painting on the bottles, and I get lost in it. There are
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
I'm just like so into it, and
Mm.
working on very small areas.
Yes.
There's really no room for any mistakes or errors. Thankfully, I haven't made any yet. But it's just amazing, and to watch the people watch me and their expressions on their face, and then creating something so unique and beautiful just for them,
Mm.
just gives me so much joy.
That is so good. That is so good. When I teach classes, whether it's drawing or doodling or painting, I work mostly with the tech companies or people who
Right.
work in tech behind the companies. I just did a group for Pinterest the other day, not on Pinterest, but people who work for Pinterest, right? And it's all
Yes.
their tech people. So I describe my brushstrokes like backstrokes, forward strokes, and parentheses because that's something they can kind of relate to and they don't think of it as a very foreign thing. But when you think about it, all art is a series of backstrokes, forward backslash, forward slashes,
Right.
and parentheses all put together. It's not any thing we didn't learn as a kid when we learned how to write our name. It's just a relationship with the medium, the paint or the brush or whatever, and just a little bit of practice to get it even. But that's all it is. It's not um the skill that is special that you have is the work that you have put into it, yeah, and that anyone can really do. And I tell people do art because it's good for you, not because you're good at it, because you will get good at it, because art is like yoga. You're way better on day 800 than you are on day one, but it is good for you on day one, so do the things. Yeah, it's like meditating with a parting gift, isn't it? When I meditate, I spend 15 minutes just beating myself up because I can't shut off my to-do list. But I can paint for 2 hours, goes by like that. There's real
Exactly.
meditative quality to that. It's
It's
such a
it's a
great
wonderful
mental
feeling.
reboot.
It is. It's a wonderful feeling because you just get so lost and so absorbed in everything you're doing. You're
Yes,
able to block everything out.
yes,
And
yes,
it's like a mini vacation.
yes, yes, it is exactly like a mini vacation. Yeah, yeah, you feel so good after. Yeah, yeah.
And it's
And
nice. It's one of those things that you could do by yourself. You don't need somebody to do it with you.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think the reason it is hard for people to get started, they don't want to wreck that piece of paper or that blank canvas because they don't know what they're doing. But the stuff you put on the canvas is so priceless as far as the experience that comes with it. And it's just figuring out that mindset. Yeah, it's even hard for me some days to sit down and to start a piece of art. I'm how many years in now, and I still find myself procrastinating just a little bit before, and I know it is my old mindset of I don't want to wreck this blank canvas,
Oh,
and
then that
it's something
that
I still
sounds
struggle
like
with.
Angel. That sounds like when writers have writer's block. It's almost you're describing painter's block.
Yes, yes, it's probably the same block. Yeah, Yeah.
Now, you've also, because of your background, you've worked with a lot of people, like you mentioned before, who have depression, anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, do these people seek you out, or do you seek them out?
Chicken or the egg question again. Um, Both. I let them know that that's one of the things I'm here for, and they go, "Oh, I'll try that then." And then there are other people who seek me out as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Now,
I'm not quite sure.
since you work with a lot of these large corporations, have
Yeah.
you found that there is an innate environment of high stress and anxiety, like you mentioned, Microsoft, Google,
Yes. Yes.
Amazon?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I can't tell how I am doing because they are used to being off screen and muted for their meetings. And
Right.
if they are, and I kind of thrive on the interaction. So if they're off screen and muted, I'm like, is this thing on? You know, but then after we're done, they'll all show what they've been working on and talk a little bit about it. Or sometimes I break them up into smaller groups so they can talk to themselves without me being there and say, you know, what they got out of the thing that the activity that we just did. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like that piece, that cutting board that I had shown you
Yes.
earlier. It's like, I'm gonna see if I can gently lean over and try to get it.
It's so gorgeous. Was that done in a class?
Yes, this is,
Look how beautiful.
you can see it.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, it's a cutting board. Look at the reflection behind it. So I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
the story behind this. This was done on a Saturday afternoon. So I was trying to find something to do. You know, it was one of those weekends. I think, oh yeah, my son was away because he was training in the military, and I was just finding I wanted to find something to do because I was kind of bored, and I didn't want to do the typical hang out with the girlfriends, go to the mall. I was like, I'm not getting anything out of that, so I want to do something different. And like I said, I love to challenge myself. So I came across this art class through social media, and it was no training. They show you everything. You pay one price, and they give you all the materials. So they give you this wooden board, and this was all done with different types of acrylics.
Mm.
Acrylic, and you're pouring it on there and using like what looked like a blowtorch or a settling torch
Oh.
and a blow dryer. I had like the torch in one hand, the blow dryer in the other hand, and the heat and the movement from the blow dryer is making all of this kind of like move around on the board. And you're tilting the board, and I wanted to give it a look like it was oceans and waves.
Yeah.
And you know,
Nailed it.
it was fabulous. And then of course, you know, they give you shells and whatever it is that you want to put on it. And it was just this sense of like, we were there for 3 hours, and I was so into what I was doing. I didn't even know the time flew by. And I'm adding like, you know, crystals to it and glitter and a little this and a little that. And then I added the shells, and I wrote, you know, one of my favorite sayings, live, love, laugh. And
Mm.
then you come back 2 weeks later if they fired up in the kiln. And it was just like, I just stood there going like, wow, I did this. This is like so cool, you
Yeah.
know, but it's too nice. I don't want to use it obviously as a cheese board. I'm like, oh, I'm hanging this up on the wall. You know, it's like when your kids were little, they come home and they show you what they made in art class, and you had everything plastered all over the refrigerator.
Yes.
And here they are, like 56 years old, and you're like, they come to visit you, like, you still have that picture up. I'm like, I'm never taking it down, you know, but
Priceless, right?
right, but it's a wonderful sense of accomplishment. And I know you must have that with all of your students when they create something.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And what's even better to me is after a corporate class, if they reach out on the social and they show me a new thing they're working on, there's nothing better, nothing better. And I have this one young man in particular who every week sends me a new thing and he's just so all in and dedicated to getting better at it, which is awesome. It's, you know, it's not because he wants to start selling it or anything. He just loves when he makes something that looks like what he wanted it to look like, you know. Oh man, there's just nothing better. And yeah, that is just my favorite thing. And I also love, people tend to get stuck on the idea that if it doesn't look like the instructors, it must be wrong. And I tell people all the time, if Van Gogh and Andy Warhol were both on your team and trying to paint like each other, they would have aneurysms and they would both feel like failures, because there's no way that clean mind that is Andy Warhol, that structured brain that is Andy Warhol, and whatever's going on in Van Gogh's mind can create the same thing, because so much of you is on the paper. If you crave structure in your life, your painting is going to be structured. That's just how it's going to be. And if your brain is kind of all over the place, like Vince and me, that's going to, yep, that little bit of chaos it's going to be really hard to do a structured thing. I love the look of a structured, I love Warhol stuff. I am not capable of it. And that's okay. And that's, mine's just a little bit more freewheeling, and that is okay. Because if all of our paintings look the same, what would you bid on at Sotheby's like you do? Everybody would just be bidding on that one painting.
And I call it organized chaos. That's how I describe
Yes.
myself. I am organized chaos.
You're I envy your brain, because you must have a little bit of the left brain going with the lawyering and stuff. I'm just two right lobes. My mom asked me during the pandemic, "How are you keeping yourself busy?" I said, "I'm teaching myself how to tap dance." She said, "Of course you are." She says, "I probably qualify for handicap parking because just the right lobe is so heavy." I'm looking into it.
It's like that skit from Young Frankenstein. They're all telling him, it's like, you have a hump, and he's walking around, goes, what hump? I don't see a hump. So it's like, we see these. I mean, these little character quirks is what makes you and me, and makes us so fun and
Yes.
interesting. I don't want to be like everybody else. That would be boring.
No.
Can you imagine
Yes.
if every stick figure from every cave drawing from around the world was the same? It's not possible.
Not possible. Not possible. Your personality, the mood you're in, is on your paper today. And that is so awesome. So awesome.
Now, the students that you've had in your workshops, I know you mentioned some of them have gone on because you've taken the lid off their creativity. And so
Yeah.
now they're going with the flow. That must make you feel really incredible.
It makes me feel so incredible. And also I am inspired by the stuff they do. I have another woman who keeps in touch with me quite regularly. And I do mostly corporate events, and one night a week I offer public events, and anybody can just come. And she comes quite regularly now. And she last fall, was it? I don't remember. I'm like, what's new? She goes, "Oh, I've got a gallery show." I'm like, "You're doing a gallery show?" She's like, "Yes." I'm like, "I am thrilled." I have never done a gallery show. I'm a commercial artist, so I illustrate coloring books, and I do things that are for print. I have never had a gallery show. I am so jealous and inspired. She inspires me. And she's like, "Oh, I'm just an amateur." I'm like, "Let's explore that word, because an amateur that's a word we use to beat ourselves up when we're not good at something. But a professional is somebody who gets paid to do a thing, and an amateur is somebody who does it for the pure love and enjoyment of it." That is a way better way to look at the word amateur. And that's almost loftier in my estimation. I get paid to do a thing, and I don't know.
It's the same thing like when you're starting out a business. People who don't expect you to succeed, they'll turn around and they'll say, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur."
Yeah.
So what is that supposed to be? I still have to pay my bills.
Yes.
It makes you feel like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. You're doing this for fun. When are you going to get a real job? When are you going to get a real job, Anjl? You're just teaching paint all day long. What does that do?
Right. The word artist has that same kind of connotation.
Yes.
If you're like, I still feel weird when I have to write the occupation. The word artist is just a hard word. It feels like it should be followed by /barista in the LinkedIn.
Because you look at artists and they're thinking like graffiti.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. But there's all different types of artists. Even, being an artist incorporates everything from being a writer.
Yes.
To a painter, to a comedian.
An actor.
Exactly. we're all artists, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, going back to what you said earlier, society's norms seem to want to stunt our artistic growth. When you get
Yes.
to a certain age, it's like, okay, well, that was fun and games when you're a kid. Now it's time to be serious.
Yes.
So you're
Yes.
like shutting everything off, and it shuts off your creativity.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's why it's so important for people to do stuff to keep your creative juices flowing. Well, what else can I do? Well, what's a different way I can do that? That all comes from that artistic bit that we all have. Yeah, so true.
I mean, even as musicians, I mean, we've been banging the drums and making noise from the time that we're an infant.
Yes.
You
Yes.
you have
Yeah.
the kids sitting on the floor in the kitchen with all the pots and pans. Everybody's like, to the parents, it's like, oh, that's like my future Ringo Starr banging on the drums, and to everybody else, it's like, shut your kid up and making noise. Just from such
Yeah.
an early age, they're just trying to, stunt our growth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think unfortunately, while human nature is artistic, human nature also is the box, is the categories we put, the connotations we give to words like entrepreneur and artist that
Yeah.
puts you in this box. And our language is so limiting. We have such, I mean, artist is such a big word that we work so hard to give such tiny meaning to.
And it's really sad because more and more now in schools there are no art programs.
Right.
And
Right. That's always been fun. I find that funny too, that the first programs they close in schools is music and art, but the very wealthy among us like to invest in art and go and see music, operas, and things. So where do they think those artists and those musicians are coming from?
yes, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Again, what came first, the egg or the chicken?
Yes. Yes.
Keep circling back to that.
Yes.
Oh, it's another day. Oh, here I am. I'm
Yes.
back. Hello. I just love having technical difficulties. It's
It
just
is a thing. It is a thing. Last week, I teach online. I teach in the Zoom, and the weather has been so cold in the Midwest here that it's frozen up all technology. So it was just me and my cat for almost a week. Oh my gosh. He's not super fond of me.
give the cat a paintbrush. Put some paint on the tail and see what happens. And back and forth.
Do you know what she loves? Cats can smell acrylic paint. They love the smell of plastic. So when my paint water gets really dirty, she can't keep her face out of it. So that's when we bond. She gets close enough that I can pet her because she's trying to put her face in the dirty paint water. It's a complicated relationship, but we have an understanding.
I was going to ask you, as you move forward, because now you've hit your 10-year mark, and as you go forward, what do you see happening with the future of BrushCapades? And
What I Such a great question. What I would love to do, what I like to tell people when they ask what I do for a living, I tell them that if Bob Ross and Leo Buscaglia and Dory the fish had a baby, it would be me. And I would like to maybe Bob Ross some more. I would like to go places and um, see people again would be amazing. I kind of miss people. I love what I do and how I do it. But so my thought is that maybe I also really love travel. So maybe instead of just on a camera teaching people how to paint a beach, maybe go to a beach and teach people how to paint the beach while we are on the beach.
oh, that's
So
excellent.
doesn't that sound lovely? So
Yeah, you
that is
definitely look into that.
yeah, yeah.
Some of these resorts are like the all-inclusive resorts. I mean,
Hmm.
aside from doing, yoga in the pool, and it would be
Yeah,
so nice if you actually pulled out, tell everybody, it's like, okay, everybody, bring your pina colada, and we're going to go
yeah.
out on the beach, and you have the easel out there, and just it's a beautiful environment to be painting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Freestyling on
yeah.
the beach.
Yes. Doesn't that sound lovely?
So, for anybody who's not sure about who Leo Buscaglia is that you reference, he was referred to as Dr. Love He
Mm.
was he's an author
He was
and
an
also
author, a professor at USC. Yep.
right, and also was a psychologist.
Yeah, he must have. He's a Dr. Biscaglia. Yeah, yeah, he was
Yes,
a psychologist. Yeah.
right. So he was known as Dr. Love, and since you referenced him, he was very big with the loving, with
Mm,
the hugs, and to sustain and to thrive and to survive. So what you're doing with your paintbrushes, you're providing hugs to everybody through your art
yes.
and with your paintbrushes.
Yes, yes, and teaching just how important love and self-love is. The more you have, the more you have to give, and the
Yes.
more you will get. And yeah, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Yeah,
And through your painting and getting everybody to realize that there's no such thing as a wrong painting. You're not doing anything wrong.
yeah,
But once you're able to love yourself and love what you do, compliment, like you said, compliment yourself. Stop beating
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. A primitive painting is also a very playful painting. So choose better words. My favorite piece of art that I own, and I have traded art with a lot of people in my day, but I got this piece at a Goodwill, and I think it's on poster board, and I'm pretty sure it was done by a junior high student, a middle school student. It is Elvis and Marilyn Monroe, and Elvis has green skin and a purple guitar, and Marilyn's hair and shoes are impossibly yellow. And that painting gives me so much joy to look at every single day. It is my very, very favorite piece, and that should be the point. The just like Bob Ross says, the joy of painting. Let it give you joy and get joy from it. So good. Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight on this show and introducing everyone to the world of Anjl Rodee and BrushCapades and painting, and be free, express yourself, because art is not just for when we're little kids using chalk. It's for all of
Yeah.
us any age.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
thank you so much. I love the fact that we have so many similarities in our background between,
Yes.
of course, artistic and funny, and just keep doing what you love to do.
Keep doing what you love to do. Yeah. Yeah. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for
Thank
having
you so
me.
much. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And I'm going to find you. I want to do some painting with you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.